Convergent Nation, how was everyone? Hopefully you've had a great week, and it's hard to believe we're halfway through July here already. And I'm happy to report last week that we had mentioned we had a couple dozen of our colleagues that have contracted coronavirus. Most are handling it well, which is terrific. We had one colleague that had been in the hospital, and thankfully they've been released now in our home, and we certainly wish them a very speedy recovery. But you know, when you look and you think about the scale of this epidemic or pandemic, and you know, you think about all the people that have been impacted, our company is pretty representative. You know, we're 5,000 people around the world, and you know, we've had about you know, a percentage, or you know, 1% or a little over 1% of our colleagues have contracted the coronavirus, and certainly, you know, we know the tragedy we faced as a company as well. So, you know, continue to take the coronavirus as seriously as it deserves to be taken. Continue to fill out the fit for duty, and we've definitely seen an uptick on that, which is great. Continue to wear masks and be socially distanced, and I think, again, you know, we all have to live our lives, we all have to work. But at the same time, let's all be smart about this thing. And it's just like safety, you know, take the extra time to think about what's going on and what sort of situation you're putting yourself in, and recognize that, you know, hey, there's things that can impact us. And, you know, we don't control what everyone does with their lives beyond work, right? Not that we control what you do here either, but you know, the reality is, you know, people on the weekends, you know, think about what you're doing. You know, if you go into a mosh pit with 500 other people, probably not going to be a good outcome in the long term here, right? And, you know, as much as we all want to have fun, it's summertime, we want to enjoy the weather and be outdoors, do it thoughtfully. And, you know, again, make sure that, you know, if we all just lived our own lives and didn't interact with any other people, wouldn't be a big deal. You could take that risk on at your own personal risk. But again, think about the risk that, you know, potentially applies to other colleagues, other family members, and just people in general. And I think, you know, if we all do this as a society, you know, we'll get through this thing as reasonably as we can. Hopefully the news this week relative to, you know, the success of the vaccines that they're working on is good news. It's still not proven, still not here, and obviously won't be for months to come. So, you know, we're not anywhere near the end of this thing yet. And yet, if we all continue to work and be smart, I really do think we can minimize the impact on our team. And keep in mind, you know, when we have colleagues that are at home in quarantine, you know, they're not available to work. And, you know, that puts an undue stress on other colleagues now that have to work extra, try to catch up, try to keep our customers' service at the levels that we all want to. So there's a follow-on effect from this beyond the coronavirus on our goal of being our customers' best service provider. So please be as thoughtful and considerate as you can, and continue to fill out those fit for duties. It will help us as a company manage this. You know, this morning, where the team, we've got a great group of people that are going to give you an update on global accounts. When we look at our company and the success we've had, you know, we know why we have enjoyed decades now of growth. It's because we have a phenomenal culture and incredible colleagues that come together with that simple goal in mind of being our customer's very best service provider. It's awesome. Over the years, though, as we've grown the ability now to service customers on a global footprint. We didn't have that from day one. It's taken years. It's taken literally hundreds of millions of dollars of investment to get there. And we now have a global company with global colleagues focused every day on being our customers' best service provider. And because we have that scale that honestly I would tell you, I think no one else enjoys the scale and the focus that we do when it comes to integration for global organizations and enterprise organizations around the world. We are uniquely positioned at this time to help. And you're going to hear a terrific story this morning about how about 300 of our colleagues just did something really tremendous in a very short period of time. But it was all been enabled by our culture and now our global reach. And as we look to the future, this is going to be a competitive advantage we're going to continue to invest in and expand. and continue to expand our reach around the world, because it is making a difference for us. It's making a difference for our customers, and ultimately allowing us to continue to enjoy the success we have as a company. So let me hand it off to Mike Duncan, to Jeff Rogers, and Paul Thomas for a quick update on global accounts and the success they're enjoying. Take it away, Mike. Thank you. Have a great weekend, everyone.
Thanks, Ken. I'm Mike Duncan, and I'm Vice President of Global Accounts, which means I lead our small but talented global account team, as well as our team in Europe. And I want to introduce a couple of colleagues today. Jeff Rogers, is our Vice President of our Northwest and Rocky Mountain region, located in Seattle. And Jeff is actually one of our original colleagues and has a great perspective on how things have changed from a global account perspective over the years that he's been with us. In addition to that, I want to introduce Paul Thomas, who comes from a different perspective, in that Paul has been with us for less than a year, but in his prior position worked as the president of one of our primary competitors focused on global accounts. And Paul today comes in as our Vice President of Operations and is focusing most of his attention on how we execute flawlessly for these global accounts across the world. So I have a question, first of all, for you, Jeff. You've been with us from the beginning, and you've seen a lot of things, and you've seen a lot of growth from a global perspective. Can you give us your perspective on that? And in addition to that, give us some examples of some of the customers that you've worked with and what value we've brought to them from a global perspective.
Yeah, sure, Mike. Happy to. You're right. It's been 20 years almost since we first started this company, and at the time we had this idea that if we could essentially cover all of the NFL cities, we'd feel like we had a pretty good, coverage pattern and could service a lot of our clients. That's maybe 30-ish cities, primarily in the U.S. and Canada. And if you fast forward now, we're in roughly 100 CTCs across the globe, and really just the ability to service those global clients has just grown exponentially over 20 years. Never would have imagined it. And I guess, by way of example, we had a client ask us recently to help them with a fairly fast track deployment in a number of different countries. And we engaged and really motivated everybody to kind of jump in and help this client. We ended up touching roughly 50 countries, about 300 different deployments, and ultimately 300 Convergint colleagues were involved in this. And to me, really the most striking thing was we were able to do this entire thing in about 60 days. And so what that tells me is that, we've been able to really kind of hit the global customer and be able to show that power and that breadth and depth, but still with the nimbleness of a smaller company. And I guess that's really the one thing that strikes me about our global deployments and our global abilities, and how they've still maintained a lot of that smaller company feel. So hopefully that's a good example for you.
Thanks, Jeff. I just want to give a little bit of my experience. I've been here for 5 years, and our global presence has grown dramatically. We now are able to service our customers in the US and Canada with our own colleagues almost at 100% geographic coverage. In addition to that, now with the acquisition of ICD Security 7 years ago, that business has expanded now into 10 different countries in Asia Pac. And then with the acquisition of Beacon Security 5 years ago, we are now through acquisition and through organic growth, we're now in 7 countries. So we, in addition to the 19 countries that we can service our customers directly in, we have about 30 other countries that we can use our service providers, our local service providers, to provide service and project support to our customers. So now we have coverage in over 50 countries. Paul, you came from the other spectrum. You're a new colleague with us. You've had a lot of experience with global accounts and operational experience. Can you talk a little bit about our ability to execute on a global scale? Customers come to us and want us to be able to to not only be able to service them, but be able to do that consistently across all these different geographies. Can you give us some of your experience and what you think about our ability to execute across all those geographies?
Yeah, thanks, Mike. I'd be happy to. I'd like to start out with one of our most essential values and beliefs, because I think fundamentally it's the basis of our whole operations. And that is, we expect to be our customers' best service provider, no matter what business we're in. Large global customers with locations across all of our regions really introduce complexity far more than smaller customers do. This makes being the best service provider quite a bit more challenging. Some of these complexities are things like advanced solutions, integrations, currencies, language, product availability, even just local capabilities within different regions. Addressing these complexities is really what sets Convergint apart. Convergint delivers world-class projects and services consistently across our global customers. We set the standard for excellence in terms of everything we do, from design, execution, quality, customer satisfaction around the globe. I think it's also important to mention that we are continually evaluating to expand our geographic reach as well. As our customers grow, we need to grow with them, and we're doing a very good job with that. So I think that's a very important part of our operations.
Okay, well, great. Thank you, Paul. Thank you, Jeff. I want to just conclude by thanking all of you in the Convergint Nation. I like to say that everyone in the Convergint Nation touches some way our global accounts. And so I want to say thank you to our leadership, to our account executives, program managers, operations team, and a special thank you to our frontline colleagues who touch these customers every day and do just a fantastic job and are the difference between us being successful or failing with these accounts. And so a special thank you to those frontline colleagues. In addition to that, hope you have a great weekend, and please stay safe out there.